Powerful 21 Principles from Musashi's Dokodo, the Musashi Field Manual, an online program to develop the mind of a warrior. Now available at stickmanpublications.com.
Welcome to the Martial Arts and Life Podcast with Kris Wilder.
Good day, good afternoon, good morning, whatever your day is. Welcome to the wonderful world of podcasting, the Martial Arts and Life Podcast. I'm your host, Kris Wilder. In 1973, the Faces released a song called Ooh La La. Now, some of you know that song and others of you don't. I mean, it was 1973. It was the Faces, who still to this day, I love the material that band put out. You know, Ronnie Wood on guitar, Rod Stewart, Ronnie Lane, Kenny Jones on the drums, Ian McLaughlin, just a fantastic band. And what I liked about them was I liked their kind of loose, jangly, blues, rock and roll infused style. Just, if you're not familiar with the Faces, go make yourself familiar. And if you're on the website, you can go to the link, because I'm including a YouTube link so that you can actually go and hear the song Ooh La La. The song came to the popular forefront for a little while because it was used in a sentimental commercial. And it's a sentimental song. And what I want to do is I want to take the words from Ooh La La, which is, I wish that I knew then what I know. Let me see if I can get this right. I wish that I knew what I knew now when I was younger. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so now you've heard me sing, and that's all you're going to get. I get paid not to sing. But the phrase is about looking back and saying, if I'd only known these things when I was younger, it would have saved me a lot of time, a lot of pain, some money, some experience, all of those kinds of things. That's the primary message of the song. And what I want to do is I want to share with you the top 5 things that I wish that I had known when I started martial arts. If you are a new listener or new to martial arts, I hope you strongly take these under consideration. Adopt what works for you. Reject what doesn't, but I hope that you'll listen to it all. And if you're an old saw at martial arts, you got some time underneath your belt, you've been at it for a while, well, hopefully these things will be meaningful to you too. So here we go. The 5 things that I wish I'd known when I started martial arts. The first thing is that your teachers are human. I don't know about you, but I had a tendency to put people that can demonstrate a high level of skill in an elevated place. It was even that way with movie actors and actresses. If I was buying into the illusion that was presented, then I assumed that all other aspects of their lives were tightly wrapped with a bow and in order and duly sorted. And it was always very odd when you found out that somebody had developed a horrible alcohol problem or something of this sort. It was part of their package, but you get the idea. It's like when that humanity gets revealed with the normal warts and scars, kind of destroys that icon that you had in your head. And I would do the same thing with my martial arts instructors to a great degree. And I can remember the first time it happened was when my Taekwondo instructor did a double kick in the air and broke a board that a guy was holding as he sat on top of another student's shoulders. I was frozen in place. And I thought this guy was absolutely the bomb, the coolest thing ever. And there were many other opportunities to see that happen and to see really high-level martial arts demonstrated. And then, as I got to know or become more familiar with the instructors, some of the things that make us all human would start to rise. And as I got older, I really realized that that's the way that it is, period, end of story. So even if you've got a hero, like Mickey Mantle, the great baseball player, heck of an alcohol problem, but it doesn't negate what he did on the field. But it is still part of who he was. So that would be the first thing, is I would say recognize the fact that your instructors are human, that they're not demigods. The second thing is, it's rarely about style. Teachers are more important than style. And I have a hard time finding the place where the style is so superior that it supersedes the instructor. I don't know of anybody that is competent at what they do is necessarily married to their style, in as much as it becomes part of what they do and how they express who they are. And so that what you're engaging in is you're engaging in the more important thing, which is the person's ability to communicate and light a fire. To light that fire in me and to light it in you. That was the greatest gift a teacher could give. Do you remember that time you were sitting in school, absolutely stone bored, and then some teacher said something, and that light went off? It wasn't the style. It wasn't the classroom. It was the teacher. So adhering to a style for the sake of adhering to a style is probably not something that I would recommend. So chalk that up under number 2, about what I wish I knew then, what I know now. It's rarely about style. Number 3, listen better. Let me tell you something. I was, for a huge swath of my life, a terrible listener. I was always on broadcast. And when I did hear people, I didn't really take it in. I didn't really understand the context, let alone the content of what they were saying, because I didn't have any interest in it. And if I didn't have any interest in it, well, then it had no value. And it was dismissed. So I've come to the conclusion that listening is a sign of maturity. I don't think anybody's going to argue over that. And when I was younger and not very mature, I wasn't a very good listener. But I do try to cultivate the skill because it makes a difference. So if you're not a good listener, or you've been told once or twice to listen up or pay attention or to focus, or you don't seem to get what's going on here, or you don't seem to understand, well, maybe you should cultivate that skill and listen. Because I'm telling you, if you're with a good instructor and they are putting it out there, well, you want to be picking it up because it's important. Number 4 on the list of what I wish I knew then is the idea that the physical is the most important thing in the martial arts. And it is awfully important. I mean, we have to be able to move our bodies. We have to be able to generate power, to move with speed and impetus and percussive power. These things are essential to good martial arts. And as you get older and a little more sly, you start finding the workarounds and the cheats and the easier ways to do these things. The physical is important, but a resilient and flexible mind is essential. You know, you see those cases where it's the 80-year-old granny that gets the black belt, or it's the person who is in a wheelchair or doesn't have all of their limbs, and man, that's hard stuff. But they get their black belt And it's celebrated hugely. Well, it isn't the physical that's being celebrated. It's the spirit. I mean, there's a level of competency. We all understand that. But it's really the resilient and flexible mind that's allowing them to do that and participate at that level that we really celebrate when we see those moments. Physical's important, but the mind is essential. And the fifth one that comes in on this list is don't hurry. Relax a little more. Flow a little more. And be attentive. Be focused. But flow a little more. We all have belt ranks sitting in front of us that we want to get to. If I'm a yellow belt, man, I want to get to that green belt. If I'm a brown belt, I want to get to that black belt, or whatever color it might be. And those things are wonderful incentives to have in the martial arts. They're acknowledgments of what you've earned and where you've come from and where you're going. Great stuff, not diminishing that at all. I think being in a hurry sometimes for the next rank actually slowed me up. I know that sounds a little odd, but if you think about it for a moment, you know what I'm talking about. You hurried and you had to do it again. You hurried and you didn't do the job right, so you got to go back and do it again. And then there's that old saying that I think it goes, it is faster to do it right the first time than to do it wrong and go back and do it again. Something like that. But every job site foreman knows that line or some version of it and uses it appropriately on a daily basis. But that's it. I would have to say, relax. That wasn't something that I did very well either. And flow a little bit more. Again, wasn't my forte. And be attentive. If I thought it was important, I did. And focused. Yeah, I focused. But in such a myopic manner that I excluded some of the larger aspects. Some of the, let's call them glacial, slow-moving, dense, deep aspects of the martial arts that don't appear to be moving because they're so slow and so deep and so large, but they are important. An example of that might be the hurry to do the next form, the hurry to get the next kata. I got to get that kata. You're getting the patterns, which are great, but you're missing the essence, that glacier of the beauty of the assemblage of the form. The understanding that it was a way of communicating dangerous combative skills, and that if done properly, it's very powerful, and not in that young man kind of powerful way, but that dirty, sneaky, sly, I've been here before kind of fighting method. So those are the 5 things that I would say to anybody. These are the secrets. These are the 5 things that I wish I knew when I had started the martial arts. 1, your teachers are human. 2, it's rarely about style. 3, listen better. 4, the physical is important, but a resilient mind is essential. And don't hurry. Relax a little bit. Let it flow. Be attentive. Be focused. But let it flow.
The 87-Fold Path to Being the Best Martial Artist. 87 Social and Psychological Tips for Living Beyond the Physical. A book designed for the martial artist who's seeking the edge to life that exists both inside and outside of the training hall. Read reviews and samples at Amazon.com today.
And now for We're All in This Together. Kids have this odd tendency of growing. I think it's because their parents continually feed them. I'm not sure about the correlation. It's just a suspicion. Well, with kids growing, of course, they outgrow their karate uniform, their gis. And their brains are growing as well. And their brains are full of hiccups. If you've ever been a parent or worked with kids, you understand the brain hiccups that kids have. They may hear only every other word, or they may mess up dates and times, or Tuesday becomes Thursday or the next class. It's nothing new. It's just the way that their brains are working. And so when I have a conversation with a kid, I'm also having a conversation with their parent. And sometimes the parent isn't present, but there's this triangle of communication. It doesn't always come out the same because of the kid's brain hiccups. I thought you said it was Tuesday. Is it true that Nicholas has a test on X and X date, says the parent? No, that's not this month. That's next month. Oh, okay. I'm glad I checked. Well, there's a professional parent for you. So this kid says to me, I need a new uniform. This one's a little tight. Yeah, looks a little tight. Looks like you outgrew this one. So I said to him, let me take a quick look. I don't have your size that you need. I'll have it for you next class, so you can get it then. Okay, great. And off they go, and off I go into my next class. And all things are set in motion, except we're dealing with that kid brain hiccup. And the next class comes around, and I have the uniform. Okay, yeah, come on over here. I got your uniform. And then this moment happens where the mom says, wait a minute, we've already got one. I said, that's great. Assuming that they purchased one off the web or somewhere else, which is fine. And another mom says, here, I've got this and I washed it. And the first mom takes it and looks at me and goes, we've got this one. And it was like, oh yeah, hand-me-down. Fantastic, actually. That's pretty good. What had happened is that last week, the conversation was overheard about needing a new gi. And one of the moms turned to the other mom and said, we have one. I think it'll fit. And the reply was, fantastic. Well, that story was related to the kid who went, oh, okay, I'm going to wear so-and-so's old gi. And then immediately hiccups into 2 days later saying, do you have my new gi, Sensei? Bringing us to this moment. Now, at this point, there might be a version of this story where it's, dang, I missed selling a uniform to another kid. Or it can be the other way, which is the way that I look at it, which is, hey, there's some community here. Hand-me-downs are not a popular thing, and if you are a middle child or a third, fourth, or fifth child, whatever it might be, you know the concept of hand-me-downs. It doesn't fit your bigger brother or sister anymore, and so you get to wear it because that's still a good piece of clothing. That's the way I grew up, and although I didn't have an older brother, being the oldest, I did wind up wearing things that my cousins had outgrown that were older than me, and there's nothing wrong with it. But as a kid, it's not the greatest thing in the world. But that tradition of hand-me-downs actually made me really feel good about a new piece of clothing or a new, something that was stood out from the pack of what I had. It's a great tradition, really, and one that every kid, I think, dreads. But the thing that is important here is that I have moms I have moms not only exchanging uniforms or hand-me-downs, or recycling might be a better word today. It seems a little more attuned with the times and a little more hip. But here's a mom saying, here's a uniform, it's still good, I washed it. And I think that's pretty awesome, because there's to use another popular phrase, it's part of community. People are talking, they're finding out, like, hey, you know what, I can help you. That'd be fantastic, thank you. And the thing that happens there is that there's a little thread made that helps bind the community of the dojo, that helps bind the community of these people outside of the dojo. It's just one stitch, it's just one thread, but that's the way a quilt is made, is with thousands and thousands of stitches. It makes the martial arts school, in my case, I'm pretty specific, I call it a dojo, but it makes the martial arts school more than a place to kick and punch. I know, you knew that. This is just an example of parents stitching together that community, that dojo, and doing it just one little thing at a time. It's a thoughtful act. Maybe not a great act, but an act in the right direction, and like I said, just one thread that helps make for a great martial arts school and a wonderful place to be, and I didn't even lift a finger. It wasn't about me instructing, teaching, or helping the kids in this particular section of the class get better. It was about parents coming together in that popular word today of community. It wasn't forced. It wasn't demanded. It was just an act of one mother helping out another mother and her child. I just can't think of a better thing. So, yeah, I'm standing there with a gi in a brand new plastic bag, but I'm watching something more important happen. And that is just a little observation for the section called We're All in This Together, because, well, we are. And there was just a nice little proof point. Hey, I'm Kris Wilder, and I appreciate you listening to the Martial Arts and Life podcast. If you like the podcast, take a moment, rate it, and review it. It means a lot. If you can find the time, I'd appreciate it. In the meantime, if you want to reach me, and many of you have recently, and I really appreciate the communication, and some of the questions are a little bit challenging, but I do my best to get to them all, and I do my best to answer everything clearly and to the best of my ability. You can reach me at Kris Wilder at kriswilder.com. That's KRISWILDER at kriswilder.com. And until next time, be well.